So now login works with the database. Let's make registration work as well. So I'm going to go back to my login code, and here's the registration function. And basically what it's doing is it's checking to see if the user exists, and if the user doesn't exist, then it's calling add key account, and it's passing in the username twice here, and also passing in the password hash, and passing in the user account file. So I'm going to change this to use another new function called add user, and we'll go ahead and do that part now. So we'll go ahead and call add user, and I'm just going to pass in username and the password hash. So let's go ahead and start writing the code for that. So function add user, username, and hash. And then I need to know what query to use. So let's go back to phpMyAdmin, go back to the SQL tab. And there's basically two different commands that you need to know about right now. So there's an insert command, and this adds a new record to the table. So if I want to add a new user, then I go ahead and use an insert command. And it looks like this. So insert into table, and then open paren, and then a list of the columns whose values I'm specifying, and then values, and then value 1 is going to be a string like new user, and then value 2 is going to be the hash, so whatever, and a semicolon. So this is going to be the username that goes into the username column. This is going to be the hash value that goes into the hash column. And if I execute this command and then go back to browse, you'll see at the right here, I have a new row with username, new user, and hash, whatever I specified. And I'm just going to delete this row. But that's the format that I want for the insert command. And that's used when you're inserting a new row. You can also change the values in an existing row using update. So update takes the name of a table and the name of one or more fields, like username equal, and the new value, hash equal new value. So this part will change those column values to whatever I specify, and then a where clause that selects which user to change. So this is good if you already have a record in your database for a particular user. This is good if you're adding a new user. And since we already know that there's no pre-existing user because we did lookup user first, right, in our login code. So we checked to see if there was an existing user, and if there was one, then we gave an error message. So we know that if we get here, no user exists, and so we want to use insert. So I'm going to start by copying this statement here, and I'm going to go back to my PokerDB code, and $query equals double quote that whole thing. And I'm going to start editing this. So the first thing I can do is get rid of these back quotes. They're not necessary. And for value 1, I want the single quoted string username. And for value 2, I want the single quoted string hash, like so. Then I can also replace username here with a constant. So here's my username field. And actually I'm missing a space there. And for hash, I can put the constant user's hash field. So this line is starting to get a little long, so I'm going to reformat it a little bit. I'm going to break it up into multiple lines. Using dot equal. And you'll notice there's a space here. That's really important. I need to have at least one space after, into, and before users. So I'm going to put it right there. So there's the username field. And let's go ahead and break the line here again. Like so. And then I'll add a semicolon at the end. So now let's go ahead and add a constant for our users table. And that should be the complete query. So the rest of this function is just like lookup user, except that I don't actually need to return anything. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy these two statements, paste, and get rid of results because I don't need it. And that should be all I need to add a new user to the database. So let's go ahead and try it. Let's go back to Browse. And then I'm going to go back to my login or register, and I'm going to try creating a new user. So first let's create a user that already exists to make sure we haven't broken anything. So that worked okay. Now let's try creating a new user called DB user, test me again, and test me, register, and I'm logged in as DB user in a brand new account. Let's go ahead and look at what that did to the database. So I'm going to reload, and now you'll notice I have a DB user account with a password hash set. So let's just make sure. I'm going to log out. I'm going to try registering DB user again. Test me, register. Username already exists, so now I'll try logging into the new account. And it worked. We try one more with the incorrect password. Password is incorrect. So everything seems to be working for login and register, but now we're using the database. So if I've done everything correctly, I should be able to delete this users.csv file entirely. Let's try it. Still works. One more. Perfect. And reload. And now I have two DB user accounts.